Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And just a few days after Scump officially confirmed that his retirement will happen at the end of the Modern Warfare 2 season, Scump has though revealed a caveat to this whole situation. If he wins every event next season and OpTic do, he will stick around. But FormaL reckons that even if he just wins champs, he's probably not going to hang up the sticks just yet. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. A nice little clutch here from FormaL versus Dashy, I believe, last night. Taking him, actually, no, this is a different clutch. But FormaL versus Dashy was actually this earlier moment here, which is pretty funny. So FormaL takes down Dashy, turns to his left, and then, you know, looks over to him because, yeah, Dashy was right next to him in the Hex quarters at this particular moment. Quick mention here of Breaking Point Nexus coming up this weekend for you guys. Saturday, Sunday. Saturday is the European side. Sunday is the North American side. The best challenger players in the respective regions. These are the teams in Europe as well. We've got the Spanish guys in Denza, Vortex, Gizmo, Harry, Maple's team as well, and then of course the Awoba Bobs as well. They're going to round out the lineup, so definitely looking forward to this weekend. Make sure you set your diaries and all that good stuff. Tune in, it's going to be on all weekend. I think on the Breaking Point YouTube channel and maybe Boston Breaches Twitch channel, so it's going to be a good time. Big tournaments to come with big prize money as is per usual. This is aBeZy quickly because as he says, he's got a nuke going on, and I don't know what this, obviously Arcitys and aBeZy, they still get on to some degree. I know that Arcitys is, it's not like he's salty about getting dropped per se, because they still have a good time and stuff, but he does mention it a fair bit, like this for example right here on Twitter, and also we've seen a few clips come out on stream the last couple of days where aBeZy will do something, or I think Arcitys made a clutch or something, or maybe he lost a clutch and he was like, damn, that's why I got dropped or something. So it's going to be a good rivalry for the upcoming season anyway, aBeZy versus Arcitys and FaZe versus LAG, but whether they'll be on a similar caliber and level of team, that is one thing that many deem to be potentially unlikely as it stands. This from Doug as well. So Doug is on the positivity trend about Modern Warfare 2, and there has been some positive trends in fairness about the game the last couple of days. I know that some people aren't happy about it at all, and there are obviously many negatives, but Doug reckons that Sensor plays good, plays well would be the correct grammar, but it's okay. Control plays excellently. Search and Destroy plays phenomenal. It's interesting that Doug thinks that Control plays particularly well, actually, just because I'm not really sure what the state of Control has been so far. I haven't really watched any scrims on Control to see if it's actually okay or not, because usually Control in the third game mode is the one that is probably more questionable than the others. So yeah, maybe if Control plays better than Hardpoint, maybe that's only Doug saying that Control is better than Hardpoint, and if Hardpoint's actually terrible, then Control might not be particularly good. But I know there has been some optimism as well about Search and Destroy, so we'll see. Doug's optimistic. He reckons, like, get the racetrack map back in, get rid of Embassy, and we'll have the best COD ever in Infinity Ward. So probably a slightly too optimistic statement, and even as Slasher says, word. You imagine Slasher has been a little bit sarcastic, because I kind of doubt that Slasher's fully on board with what Doug's saying. Maybe he is more positive than maybe Slasher usually is, but he definitely has his own set of complaints as well. And even Doug comes in the replies, what's with all this animosity, Austin? Who would have thought we'd be getting paid to play video games? We used to be spending 10 hours a day playing for $5,000 if we won first. Look at us now, man. We made it, so stop with all your negativity. But it's not like Slasher was being overly negative. He just did a single word reply tweet. And, you know, this is a couple of key complaints really here from Slasher. What would the odds be in Vegas on getting red dots on the minimap and a ninja perk? So that's the key issue. I think the red dots on the minimap as well is like, it's an option in custom games. Like, you can turn on the minimap, but you can only have it off or UAV only. They do not allow you to put it on, which is crazy because I think it was the case in the beta. And the question is, have they removed that deliberately, or is it kind of a bug or a glitch or unintentional? Because what's really the point in even having that setting there if you can't make the minimap like normal? So, you know, we'll see, but that's kind of one of the key complaints here for competitive. And if it gets changed, then there's going to be some positivity, but still, obviously, it's positivity that shouldn't even be the case if it does get changed, because it shouldn't have been the case in the first place. But that's just how Call of Duty goes nowadays. Quick build here, just wanted to share for you guys. This is Arcitys M4 build. So definitely a lot of different ARs seem to be viable, or at least there's a couple that get used. There's the SCAR or the TAQ or whatever. That's probably the most common one I've seen, but the M4 is also definitely viable. This is what Arcitys is using. So the pros haven't really made up their mind yet, and whether they will make up their minds and whether it is a personal preference thing in this game, that would be good to see. But as I say, it's early days, so more than likely give it a little bit of time, the pros will be using 2 weapons in the 2-weapon meta. That things unfortunately turn into, it was the case in Modern Warfare 2019, the MP5, and well, in fairness, right, okay, it was the MP5 M4 in that game, and it was a lot of MP5s at the start, but then when the GA come through of the 10mm, there was the Uzi that was viable, there was the Ram 7 that became a little bit viable, but then got GA'd, so there were some other options there, and I think even the AUG was used for about 2 days before he got GA'd after Doug got a 4-piece, so, you know, all this type of stuff. Scump actually got a clip this time, he finally got a nuke on stream, because he got a nuke the other day, but that one wasn't quite on stream, and even this I thought was pretty cool, from Nature to clutch a nice little 1v2 here in, I guess, just public match search and destroy, but still, he's having a good time at playing Modern Warfare 2, pretty fun so far, really enjoying it, he says. So definitely some differing opinions around the world in terms of whether this game's actually good or not, but look, at the end of the day, when Scump retires, they need a replacement in the OpTic team. Maybe Nature is going to be that guy, but will Scump actually retire? That's the key question. We've seen this in other, well, in esports in general, but also other sports, where players retire, drivers retire, go away for a couple of years, and then they think, you know what, let's just make the return and come back yet again. We see this in all sports all across the world, and it's not obviously unique to Call of Duty as well. We've seen it with Doug. He retired for a couple of years, came back. Parasite did it a couple of times as well in the past. There's been a few players that have done it already that have called it a day, and then they thought, you know what, actually, let's make the return. Now, it's kind of, it rarely happens maybe, even though there has been a few examples, even recently, where a player will say they're retiring, they call it a day, and then even the very next season, they're like, you know what, actually, I don't want to retire, I'm going to come back. Now, will Scump do that? I kind of doubt it. He's obviously thought a lot about this decision, and he will probably just step away at the end of the season because he wants to do some more cool stuff. But he hasn't ruled out the possibility of returning if, well, certain circumstances work in his favor. He mentioned this on stream last night, that if they win everything next season, if OpTic Texas come through, they win Major 1 all the way through to Major 5, and they win champs, then he's not going to step away. He's going to run it back for 1 more year, because at that point, if they're the dominant force in Modern Warfare 2, then why not, I suppose, right? Why not run it back? Now, the chances of this obviously are astronomically low, even with the legendary Complexity dynasties where they made like 14 grand finals in a row, they didn't win all of them. Even OpTic dynasty in the Jetpack era, they didn't win everything. And then in the recent era, FaZe is the most dominant team we've seen in Cold War. They won 4 out of 6 that season. They won Major 1, Major 3, Major 4 and champs, but still not everything. So it's highly unlikely to actually happen, but Scump does say there are some circumstances where he might consider a return.
Bro, okay, if we win every tournament, I'll play again. If we win every tournament, I will play again. You heard it here first. I mean, Jesus, that'd be a gauntlet. Yeah, clip it. Yeah, go ahead. Everyone clip.
Scump retiring. It's pretty nuts,
We're
bro.
in this together.
Hopefully it goes out with a bang. Open another ring on the way up. Although I think if he gets in that ring, I don't think he's retiring. But who knows?
Now, that other clip there I shared from FormaL was because FormaL reckoned he was playing some Overwatch, that if Scump wins champs, then he actually might decide not to step away. To me, it would almost be the opposite. I don't know if you guys think about this, but I was thinking even this past season, it might have been the case. If Scump would have won champs this past season, I think there's a decent chance he would have just called it a day there because, you know, obviously as a pro player, you want to go out on a high, and I don't know, it depends how Scump thinks, but in my opinion, if I was kind of thinking, you know, I'm in the last couple of years of my career here, and then I just won the big one, I'd be like, okay, yeah, now's the perfect time to go out on top. That's the way to end your career, right? But, you know, rather than go again. So I do, that's my perspective at least. I think if Scump wins champs on its own, I think he'll definitely still call it a day, but FormaL maybe disagrees, and obviously FormaL knows Scump better than any of us do in terms of what drives him, what his personality is, and what he thinks about with regard to competing. So maybe there's still some optimism there in terms of Scump still sticking around. I think with all the announcements and everything he said, he's obviously made his decision. He wants to do more. He's got a, you know, fiance. He's going to have a wife probably by the time it's official, right? And he retires from competitive cards. So, you know, we imagine it's expected that he's still going to step away after the announcement a few days ago, but it's maybe not still entirely guaranteed. And even Octane, I thought, was pretty funny. He says, my competitive integrity, effectively saying, well, you know, maybe we just have to let Scump win every event so we can stick around. Obviously, they're not going to do that, but, you know, it's an interesting one, no doubt. And in fairness, last season, OpTic were great at the start of the game. They won Major 1. Maybe they haven't quite got into the same groove OpTic OpTic as yet as some of the other teams have so far, because there's been some scrims going down. Scump and the OpTic guys are just kind of getting into that groove now. So they've missed a few days, really, but it shouldn't matter that much, even though Major 1 is not that long away, in fairness. So every second probably does count to some degree. But, you know, they were great at the start of last season. If they're great at the start of this season, the optimism will start to rise if they're looking pretty good going into the Major, that, you know, can OpTic win everything and Scump's going to stick around. And even though he said this, doesn't necessarily mean it's the case anyway. But I think if Scump is going to stick around, it's going to have to be, you know, going into next season, right? I think that if Scump does retire from COD and steps away, I think there's barely any chance at all he actually makes the return in the future. As I've said, there have been some examples of that in the past where players retire and then, you know, 2 or 3 years later they come back. That's probably not going to happen to Scump. But even with FormaL, right, he retired from COD and then it was the very next season he got into Halo. So it's probably what's going to have to happen if Scump is going to stick around. I don't think we need to be keeping up any optimism or anything. And I think that even as Scump did say on stream last night, there is still some, you know, positive signs with him. Okay, obviously him stepping away is an L for the scene, but at the same time, if the CDL allow co-streaming, and obviously he made it clear on stream last night that he's going to stay around the CDL, going to still be very involved, going to be streaming, doing awesome content stuff. So if the CDL deal with this correctly, I don't think it's as bad of a negative as some are initially seeing, but still, it would be more of a positive if Scump would stay around for another year, whatever the caveats and the circumstances are. Let's talk some scrim results from last night. The Surge were playing Rokkr on stream yesterday. Rokkr won this scrim set, but I must say that Pred was absolutely feasting. I'm not sure who was hosting this, if it was a kind of Texas Pred host, but then again, the Rokkr guys are also in Texas now, I think, so not sure how much that would matter. Surge won game 1 on Fortress, then game 2 Hotel went Rokkr's way 252-47, then this was the crazy one here on aBeZy. I mean, look at this, like the Pred delivers here. 39 in 13 for Pred, a 65-point club. Now, we've heard people talk about aBeZy maybe not being the best map, might be gone, but I mean, still, this is a demolition job, honestly, of the Minnesota Rokkr. And Pred, like, I don't know, people said after last season, yeah, this Pred guy, not sure is he a Vanguarder, right? I mean, look, the way this guy plays, and also with no red dots on the minimap, his playstyle might get even better, to be honest. And from what we saw in Vanguard, he's definitely not a side cancel merchant, so he might even be better in this game, if anything, and it's a scary sign for the competition. But at this point, it was 2-1 to Surge. Then I think game 4 goes the way of Rokkr, so it's 2-2. Then 3-2 for Rokkr, and then I think maybe we don't have map 6 here, but whatever happened there, Rokkr won the scrim set either 4-3 or 5-2 or something like that. Pretty close set of maps of the course, but I thought I'd keep you guys updated because in my opinion, these are two teams that in terms of preseason power rankings are pretty similarly ranked, in my opinion. It's tough to say who is going to come out on top. We of course already looked at this screenshot. Just to mention a very interesting stat here to close out the video. The top 20 highest overall KDs from a tournament winner all time, Dashy, FormaL, Crim, Arcitys, you know, some names up here. I'd be interested to see as well, actually, like what is the lowest KD ever for a winning team? I think that probably goes to Theory in World War II. I'm not sure. I think Theory, I might be completely faded, but I think Theory had like a 0.78 or something to win CWL Dallas or NOLA in 2018. I'd be interested to see that list of, okay, these are the highest KDs to win events. What about the lowest KDs to win events? Because Theory, I think, kind of epitomized that a few years ago back in World War II. But very much interested your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.
No, this thing's busted, don't. This thing's busted, don't. Bro, what the heck?
1-1 requesting.
Dude, this thing's busted. Where are you going, champ? Oh my gosh, they are actually, I might make them rage quit. They might all just leave.